Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. On this channel, for the longest time, I've been saying that this whole GOAT debate is manufactured. I believe that it was a debate that was made up of a bunch of smoke and mirrors. I believe that these guys took a fringe opinion and popularized it. The fringe opinion was somehow, some way, LeBron James was on the level of Michael Jordan. And when you go through history, you're like, how did we arrive here? 2011, he collapsed in the finals. So I don't even think anybody had him top 10. 2012, he won his first championship. I don't know how he would even be top 10, or probably if you want to. He won a second championship. Then he got blown out in the finals by a record margin. Some years went by. Then in 2016, he won that championship against the Warriors. And all of a sudden, LeBron went from being like a top 10 player. All of a sudden, he's next to Michael Jordan. He passed Tim Duncan, he passed Larry Bird, he passed Magic Johnson, he passed Kobe Bryant, he passed Shaq. He passed everybody. And from that moment on, there has been this push by LeBron's cronies in media to try to make it seem like this is a real thing. You've had personalities like Shannon Sharpe, Nick Wright, Colin Cowherd, Kendrick Perkins, and so many journalists and writers for some of these sports publications like ESPN, The Athletic, Bleacher Report, all putting out these similar lists. And I said to you guys that this is not a clean game. It's not a clean game. And that a lot of people that you see in media espousing these views, a lot of them are being paid to do so. We've already done the show where Shannon Sharpe was accused on live television of being paid under the table to say LeBron is a GOAT. This is on Undisputed by Joy Taylor and Steven Jackson. They laughed it off like it's no big deal, right? But I've said that these LeBron media guys have really tried to put a chokehold on the media to get them to feel like this guy somehow to GOAT. So yesterday, during a roundtable on ESPN First Take featuring Kendrick Perkins, Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon. I'm not sure if Brian Windhorst was there. They were discussing this very issue. And as they were talking about it, Michael Wilbon gave his speech. And then he said, I can think of nothing negative to say about LeBron James. There's nothing negative to say. So after he finished speaking, Kendrick Perkins spoke. And then Stephen A. Smith started off with, I can think of a lot of things to say. And then he went on to expose how the Klutch sports machine has been pressuring journalists and analysts for years to say LeBron James is the GOAT. So what I want to do is I want to play exactly what Stephen A. Smith had to say here, and then I want to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to him here.
I can find plenty of negative things to say about LeBron James. Without hesitation. I won't, but I could. Let me stick to basketball and tell you this. He's on the Mount Rushmore. He's one of the greatest players to have ever lived. I have him number 2 all time. But I appreciated and respected your take, Wilbon, on Get Up earlier when you talked about Kobe needing to be in that conversation, Kareem needing to be in that conversation. I got no issues with that. But to me, LeBron James is number 2 all time. The thing that we have to understand that's important about this conversation is when we debate the GOAT, the negativity of it comes from LeBron and his camp, nobody else. When we say he's number 2 all time, we're appreciating the fact that of the thousands upon thousands of players that have played in the NBA since 1950 rather, okay? LeBron James, there's only one player we look at and we say definitively we think was better, and that was Michael Jordan. What did I say to Rich Paul one day? You act like that's an insult. Rich Paul's response, it is an insult. Because that is how they have acted when it comes to the GOAT conversation. And that's why a guy like Mike Wilbon has been on the #1 show in sports television for the last 25 years. Congratulations to you and my man Tony Kornheiser. We're #1 in the mornings. They're #1, period. They're #1, period. We know our place. Here's the deal. Mike Wilbon has said this publicly. We're not some PR machine for you. Didn't you say that about LeBron and his kid? You said we ain't some PR. You know, we gonna watch what we watch, and we come to one. Even in saying that he's the greatest you've ever seen, Kendrick Perkins, you have said, ain't no damn PR machine. I'll say what I mean and mean what I say. Mm-hmm. So you just happen to feel that he's the greatest, but you were recognizing the fact that they were trying to compel people to say he was the greatest. Michael Jordan didn't say that about himself. Kobe Bryant didn't say that about himself. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't say that about himself. Bill Russell didn't say that about himself. Tim Duncan didn't say that about himself. Nobody said that. Nobody but him and his camp. Steph Curry hasn't said that about himself. Steph Curry has never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Ray Allen never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Reggie Miller never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Allen Houston never called himself the greatest shooter of all time. Nobody called themselves the greatest in anything but that man and his camp. And then when we refute it in any way, people like myself and Mike Wilbon and others, when we walk the streets, we're haters. So the debate and the vitriol and all of that stuff comes directly from them. And as it pertains to David Falk, let me say this one last thing. Who is David Falk? Let's remind the world of who he is. When we have a GOAT conversation, America, do you realize that David Falk is in the conversation as the GOAT of agents in history?
Yeah.
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say. What are my thoughts about this? I told you. I also believe that these lot of personalities, whatever you want to call them, are by far the most dishonest set of people we've seen in sports media probably ever. Because what they do is they go out there and they grift and they say anything that they feel will gain them traction with younger fans. And if it means that they have to lie and try to make like as if this debate is a real thing, they'll do it. Now, the part that kills me is that some of them have money. So I'm like, why are you up here twerking? Like, go sit down. Now, I can understand if you don't have any money and you're looking for a way to grift to make your way to the top, fine. Make a dollar, make a buck or two. But if you're established, why are you up here twerking? Why are you saying things you don't believe? So many players that used to have one opinion now all of a sudden have a different opinion. I'm like, yo, what happened? What happened to you dudes? I've said that these guys are the most sensitive set of NBA fans in the world. And for you to go to the extent of pressuring journalists and media members to say that LeBron is the GOAT or somehow he's on Michael Jordan's level, that speaks to a certain level of insecurity, personally. And if you have to do all of that, you know your guy's not the GOAT. Why? If he were the GOAT, it would be apparent. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. For LeBron to be put next to Jordan, the one person that had to be removed from the equation was Kobe Bryant. For LeBron to be put next to Michael Jordan, the one guy that needed to be out of the picture was Kobe. Because everybody knows, and everybody knew, that the closest thing we had ever seen to a Michael Jordan was Kobe Bryant. The closest. So if we all acknowledge, or the vast majority of us acknowledge that this guy is the greatest player of all time, how is it possible that somebody else is better than him? How? They needed to move Kobe out of the way. So what you started seeing were these campaigns to disrespect Kobe. People that used to have Kobe Bryant in their top two, all of a sudden they number 9. Shannon Sharp. All of these people that used to rank Kobe so high, now all of a sudden Kobe this. Now I got to give it props to some other, NBA players that still hold it down, like Matt Barnes, like Steven Jackson, But they knew they had to move Kobe out of the way. They knew that because back in 2010, that's really when this GOAT debate started between Kobe and Jordan. It was on the internet. And shout out to Too Raw for TV for pointing this out. After Kobe had won his 5th championship. And you're telling me in the span of 6 years, LeBron, who had 0 championships, all of a sudden now is ahead of Kobe? No. They had to move him out of the way. So what they did was they littered ESPN and all these other sports companies with LeBron guys. LeBron even said it, that I have a lot of control of ESPN, referring to Richard Jefferson. So ESPN became a propaganda machine for this debate. Knowing damn well it wasn't a real debate, but they did it because they knew it would generate views and clicks. Why? Because LeBron was the face of the NBA. So they found a way to compare him to Jordan. That's the first thing. The second thing is this. Whenever you point out these things, LeBron fans say, oh, why don't you let the GOAT debate go? Why are you still talking about it? Who brings it up more than you guys? Who's the one contesting that it's a debate? Is it not you? Do you think Michael Jordan fans are going up to LeBron fans saying, hey, I think it's a debate? No, they're not. It's you guys. It's you guys that won't let it go. It's your favorite player that won't let it go. It's his pundits, his zealots, his cronies that won't let it go. They're always trying to bring it up. It's not us. It's you guys at every turn. You guys bring it up. Like when they won that in-season banner. Oh, now he's like, it's you guys. It's you guys. But then the moment, people shoot down some of their viewpoints. Oh my God, you need to let it go. LeBron fans are the worst, bro. I done told y'all this. They the worst. Not all of them. The vast majority of them are the worst. The worst of the worst. It's a crazy fan base. They go into all kind of zesty things and like they're weird. These guys, a lot of them are. Like they're on a different level with it. But you heard what Stephen A. Smith said. Klutch has been pressuring media members for years, and we all know it. We all know that this thing is fabricated, and LeBron fans know it too. They know in their hearts that this is just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. They know that. The number one story rather yesterday was this conversation that was centered on David Falk, former super agent of Michael Jordan. Everyone discussed it. Initially, when the word first came out, we touched on it on the channel. I think we did a live. And it was brought up extensively yesterday on ESPN to the point where even Michael Wilbon stepped up and said, look, if you're telling me that I have to say LeBron is ahead of Kobe, Magic, and all these guys, Kareem, you can go kick rocks. I'm never going to say that. And it really kicked it off. A lot of people were talking about it, and some people started to modify their positions, etc. So later in the evening, Stephen A. Smith did an episode, a taping of his show, where he invited on, who else? None other than David Falk, Michael Jordan's agent, which I thought was pretty impressive, actually, to get him out there so fast. So I tuned into it, and I got to be honest with you, when I tuned in, it was already happening live, so I was kind of confused. So I woke up this morning to kind of watch it again after it concluded, so I can watch it from the beginning so I can get a better grasp of what was being said. And essentially what was happening was David Falk was then asked again to essentially clarify why he has Michael Jordan and Kobe and these guys ahead of LeBron James and why he feels Jordan is the GOAT. And what he did was he doubled down. And he really broke it down as to why this thing isn't even close, both on and off the court. And as he was saying this, I'm like, these are sentiments we have echoed. And I'm 100% agree with everything that this guy is saying. So what we'd like to do now is we'd like to play what he had to say. I want you guys to listen to it in its entirety. And then we're going to come back and give you guys our reaction. Take a listen to that there.
You said what you said. You've had an opportunity to reflect on what you had to say about LeBron James in comparison to Michael Jordan. The floor is yours. What would you like to say now?
Let me say at the outset, clearly LeBron James is a great player in any era. You'd be foolish to suggest otherwise. His longevity, his statistics are amazing. I think what makes Michael the GOAT goes way beyond the court. I think on the court, Michael obviated the center position. Prior to Jordan, you needed the Elijah Wans, the Ewings, the Kareems, the Bob Lanairs. And the way Michael played, he made it unnecessary to have a great center. Look who he won the championship with: Bill Weddington, Dickie Simpkins, Bill Cartwright. And I think that had a huge impact on the game. Secondly, and perhaps even more importantly, I think Michael individually broke down every barrier that existed for professional basketball players, and in particular, African American professional basketball players to become national marketing brand ambassadors. So the whole generation of
Mm.
LeBrons and Kobe's and Steph Curry's having their own shoes and being in commercials did not exist before Michael came in the game. Magic didn't have it. Bird didn't have it. Dr. J didn't have it. Kareem didn't have it. And I think that's a preponderant impact. I think third, I believe he's the first NBA player to become a billionaire. I believe he's the first NBA player to become a majority owner of an NBA team. And finally, he had a tremendous impact on fashion. He changed the look of the way the players play with the long shorts. He made bald is beautiful. Um, and so I think beyond comparing statistics, who had more points, who averaged more, even who had more championships, I think Michael's impact is extremely broad and deep in what he did to change the game. I don't think any other player in history had that kind of an impact.
What do you make of people who would look, and I want to get far beyond those two individuals that we're talking about for the moment, but I got this one question to ask you. What do you make of folks and their assertions that the times that we're living in now, the advent of social media, the digital stratosphere, the microscope that is on players in today's game like never before. The impression is given that even the great Michael Jordan, with his unparalleled popularity. I compare him to no one. The only person I've ever compared him to was Michael Jackson, for crying out loud. That's how popular Michael Jordan was. When you listen to people talk today, they talk about the climate, the environment, the society that we're living in today, and they say it's far more invasive than it has ever been, which makes the road tougher for a guy like LeBron James compared to what Jordan had to endure during his playing career. You've been around a long time. You know this business like the back of your hand. What do you make of that, of those assertions?
Clearly, social media has brought the fans closer to the players. Everyone can express their opinion. You don't have to work for a newspaper or a television station to have an opinion. Um, but I think it's the natural tendency when you're the best at anything, there's a human tendency to try to tear people down. And certainly Michael had that because of his immense popularity. People criticize him, for example, for not being political enough, not expressing his
Mm-hmm.
desire for certain candidates. And so, sure, I think that the social media has changed the game. I also, I also think if you want to be objective, the game has changed itself. I had this discussion about a month ago with Rod Thorne, who's a very dear friend of mine who was drafted Michael
Yes.
Jordan. And he said to me, which I didn't know, he said, do you realize today that the average NBA team takes 1/3 more shots than they did in Jordan's era? So when Jordan averaged 38
Wow.
points a game, if you increase that by a third, that means he would average 52. Now, I think Michael could have averaged, and Michael took 1.7 threes per game. That's all he took. I think he could have averaged almost anything he wanted if that was what was required to win. That's all he cared about was winning. And I think his record of 6 out of 6 is the greatest in the history of the NBA. Never lost the championship.
So you heard what he had to say. We have done probably 100 shows on this topic. And the part about when he talked about off the court, I've done shows about it where I've said that this thing isn't even close. I don't know if he's seen my shows. I don't know. I'm not going to be that presumptuous. But I've said this, that it's not even close, folks. It's not close. And I used to laugh when people would be like, oh, man, LeBron is really, off the court. I'm like, he's really ahead of Joe. I'm like, how? How? Because he gave his views on some political issues? Who says his views are the right one? That's what you're going to... So you got to go all the way to politics to say that he's better than, or that he has more of an impact? It's a joke. And we all know this. Everybody wants to be Mike. Mike has inspired pretty much every generation after him. He's a standard bearer for a lot of these guys. inspired guys like Kobe and all of these guys, and then others came after him. So when they talked about, oh, LeBron had this impact on the league and player empowerment, I'm like, LeBron's player empowerment has helped erode the fabric of the NBA. And we all know this. To the point where now you can't even get an NBA player to even think about competing in an All-Star weekend. And we've done shows where apparently we reported that during one of these recent All-Star weekends, when Larry Bird went to go speak to the team, after he was done, LeBron gave the entire locker room a side eye, like, let's just go out here and mail it in. That's LeBron. He helped. He's elevating the game. How? How? LeBron has elevated himself. The game? In what aspect? You heard what David Falk. In what aspect exactly? Where's the aspect? Where's the aspect? And I'm glad that he brought these points up. Now, obviously, some of these LeBron guys are going to be upset with me. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. The fact is, you guys have a lot of guys in media that twerk it up for you guys. So if you don't like our message, don't watch. Now, some of them say, hey, man, you know, when you talk about LeBron, it's what drives your channel. The reason that is because when I push back on some of these narratives, a lot of people who agree with me tune in. Do you think LeBron fans like me? Do you think LeBron supporters like me? Of course they don't. They don't comprise our audience base. Now, some of them are subscribed, and some of them, they just monitor our channel. That's why if we publish a video in the past, one of the first people that will always comment is a LeBron fan. They monitor the content, but to say they like it, to say they're our audience, they're not. They're people, I believe, at the core of our audience, you have Kobe and MJ fans who are looking for an alternative viewpoint on this issue. That's what I believe it is. And people are looking for those who share similar views as them. I believe at the core of it all, that's what it is. In terms of what Michael Jordan's agent is saying, I 100% concur with him. I 100% concur with him. And if you go back and listen to that full interview, he even broke down some of the errors that particular sports agents can make. Like, for instance, when a player wants to get traded. And the person I thought about was Ben Simmons. Because Ben Simmons was being managed by Klutch. And they absolutely mishandled that situation. Totally. Now look at Ben Simmons. So I believe myself to be like, not an investigative journalist. What are those scientists that just research stuff and investigate stuff, that study like the Arctic Circle and study polar bears and study, I don't know, gazelles or whatever it is, or certain type of rare monkeys or whatever. That's how I study LeBron fans. This is how I study them. I really, really analyze them to see the cracks in their logic and the things that they say. And after my extensive research over the last few years, I've come to the conclusion that LeBron James fans are full of shit. 100%, up and down, full of it. If you squeeze a LeBron fan, honey will pour out. This is what will happen. If you check their back pockets, they got honey there. If you go in their house, they got honey on the table. This is what these people do. They twerk, they shake, they holler, they move. This is the job of a LeBron fan. Where am I going with all of this? So everybody and their grandmama is losing their mind over David Falk for saying that, oh, he doesn't have a LeBron in his top three, and that if Michael Jordan had engineered super teams, he'd have won 15 championships. Oh, these LeBron fans didn't like it. And while people were losing their minds, we did a live about it. And I said in the live, I said the following. I said, so wait a minute. Michael Jordan's former agent goes to a Sports Business Journal conference in New York. He gets asked the question about his all-time rankings. Everybody loses their mind. But then we've been watching Rich Paul for years going out there and literally trying to tear down Jordan's legacy for years on different platforms like Gil's Arena, ESPN, the Pat McAfee show, the Rich Eisen show, a whole bunch of shows. and nobody said a mumbling word. But now all of a sudden, it's an issue. And I'm sitting, I'm like, where are these people in media that feel like, oh my God, LeBron is under attack? Why aren't you standing up for Michael Jordan too? Do you know why? Because the lot of you are a bunch of bozos. So what we want to do, we want to play a quick compilation of Rich Paul hating on Michael Jordan over the years. Take a listen.
I said this, by the way, I get to ask this question all the time.
Okay.
I think Michael...
Because you done seen both of them play.
I seen both, yeah. And I think Michael transcended the sport. And I think LeBron brought a consistency to the sport that maintained its relevancy. So, you know, you see all these guys on TV every day, and it's like, oh, it's Michael and it's about the rings. Well, if it's about the rings, then it should be Bill Russell. Because he got 11, right?
Okay.
So if you're only counting 6-0 in the finals, okay, we give that, right? But when you're talking about how hard it is to get there, and if you're just making it about wins and losses, like if you want to move the furniture around in the room, we can move it whichever way to make it as comfortable as you want to make it. I don't really get into the GOAT aspect because it's going to be, you know, there's an older generation on TV every day with those slots.
Yeah.
They're never going to give LeBron that credit.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And I think LeBron was the first athlete to be, he was the first social media athlete of his time.
True.
Right? Where there was a 24/7, 365 news cycle on sports.
True.
Especially on the game of basketball. Michael grew the game. After 92, after it's in Barcelona, the game grew, right? So from that point, Michael transcended. Kobe came at a time right in the middle, which, again, he was, I mean, there's nothing you can say about Kobe. He's the perfect basketball player in a lot of ways. For LeBron to come on the back, both Michael and Kobe, and then maintain his consistency going to, LeBron's been to the finals half his career. Right, so that's pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of who has the microphone, right? I'm not gonna be our guys in the barbershop or guys that's on TV every day because this is who they think is the GOAT per se. I appreciate all of them, and in addition to that, even more. You know, I just appreciate guys who play the game the right way, right? To approach the game the right. You got that in Giannis, you got that in Steph, you got that in the guy like Kevin Durant, and you know, they've shown that, and so on and so forth, right? And you see guys like Draymond get a lot of criticism, but Draymond was a second-round pick. He's a 4-time champion, former Defensive Player of the Year, you know. You see guys like AD get a lot of criticism, but I can't help if I get hurt, etc. But when I'm on, I'm on. And so, you know, I'm a fan of the game, a fan of the sport. There's a lot of guys I rock with in the league. And the young, I mean, the game is in a great space with our young guys. They you know, when you look at them, guys that represent, guys that don't represent, they carrying it in a major way. So I'm more focused on that. Like I tune in to the young guys. I don't really get into the politics of who somebody think is the best because at the end of the day, that's just their opinion.
I'm gonna get you out of here on this one, and you're the closest to the story, so you would know. What is with the vitriol of the older players towards LeBron? It seems like a lot of the old players don't want to give this younger generation the credit that they deserve.
Yeah.
But it seems like a lot of the ire is pointed at 23. Why do you think that is?
It's really corny to me.
Oh, absolutely.
And like I said, you know, when you out there, you deal with certain things. It's layered, in my opinion. You gotta remember, when LeBron came in, a lot of guys were still in their prime. And all the attention turned to him. In 2000, all the attention, boom, $100 million contract, real $100 million, not that fluff that be going out today. I'm talking about a $100 million contract.
Never dribbled NBA basketball in the NBA.
They ain't never seen nothing like that. You know, Jay-Z sending a private jet when he's still in high school. We going up to New York every weekend, every other weekend, whatever, when you could, you know what I'm saying? All these things, they wasn't, and so quite naturally in the neighborhood, you develop what? An envy. it's much easier for you to be like, man, that's some cold, man, that's player. That's real player, man. I appreciate that. I'm proud of you. That's the hardest thing to do. The easiest thing to do is what they do. You have. And then now when you give that to a media platform, and now it's even trickling down to some of the younger players, they purposely don't say his name in things. Oh, I played this because of these people. But again, everybody didn't always have the Mamba mentality. The Mamba mentality came after Kobe was really done. Then all of a sudden, everybody had the Mamba mentality.
Because the Mamba mentality, everybody frowned upon it because they say he was ball hogging.
Yeah, but when he was playing, because I was there, he wasn't hanging out with none of these guys. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
But I'm not surprised because I come from it. I wish it was different, but I'm not surprised because I come from it. But what impresses me more is that guy don't do unto those what they do to him. His door's always been open. Every time you see somebody, man, what's up, show love, etc. Even when there's
Is he too
friction,
nice? Because
too nice.
Because Jordan gave the players he played with it, but he like, I ain't y'all. Kobe really didn't fool with
But you gotta understand, some familiarity breed disrespect, and I tell him that sometimes. They can walk past somebody and don't even speak, that make that person want to speak to you more. If you speak to that person every time, it becomes, and that's the treatment that he gets sometimes. You get what I'm saying? They get on Draymond for being his friend. It's craziness, right? Right. But again, this is not about, that's not an athlete thing. That's a people thing. And that's why I said what I said when we were talking on First Take.
Now you heard what he said there, right? You're like, man, that's a lot. It ain't even over yet. What about this one? Take a listen to this.
Mike transcended the game. When Kobe came, Kobe was a silhouette of Mike, right? That's everything, which is great. But LeBron is the first player to have to deal with a 24/7, 365 news cycle of sports and opinions from those that's not even capable or carry the expertise to give a valid opinion, right? In addition to, no, I'm not gonna really do it how y'all want me to do it. I'm probably gonna do it how I decide to do it. We all know that don't go over well, right? And so then you have this environment in this sports society that's created, right? And so now you have the root against. That's a whole nother thing that Mike never had to deal with because his hardest critic was probably Peter Vesey.
Yep. Straight up.
You see what I'm saying?
Peter Vesey.
But I just think LeBron's antlers is in platinum and Michael's may be in gold. Why? Because when you think about, he had to be compared to Mike. Who did Mike have to be compared to?
Talk about it.
Right? You talk about, oh, he lost this X amount of finals. Well, how many finals you been to?
2.
How hard was it to get there?
Extremely.
How many finals you been to?
Not a goddamn one.
What about you? Why didn't you go?
Hard.
Had to go to LeBron.
We talking about 4 guys, 3 lottery picks, a rule, the Gilbert Arenas rule was created for him, because of him, you know. But then you got to also think about when LeBron came into the league.
Yep.
T-Mac, Paul Pierce, AI, Kobe, you had all these guys. And we're talking about this kid. We just saw the clip of his teammates. Oh, he's going to have to join the bandwagon. Huh? And D. Miles, my man. Mom was a sweetheart. D. Miles welcomed me with open arms. Can't blame him for that.
Nah.
He don't know what's getting ready to take place.
Nobody did.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
But yet and still, this is what you get. So now, when you talk about the GOAT, okay, the man made a decision to go to Miami. whether you like it or not, every kid today is saying what? I'm taking my talents too. It was just ahead of his time. It's okay for us to say that. He was the first social media athlete of anything. It's okay for us to say it was ahead of his time. Now, I never think it's an easy way to break up with anybody, especially your wife or, you know, or franchise that drafted you from home. So, you know, maybe not necessarily the best decision optically, but the thought and the intent of it was genuine from the heart. Boys and girls, you know, but you talk about propaganda, so it's a different dynamic, right? Then the narrative of, okay, well, you know, he went to Miami and, you know, they made him this way. What? Now, what did help was infrastructure, consistency, professionalism, which LeBron's always had. That's no question about that. But I'm saying overall, from a culture perspective, right? Organization, which was all great. But to create this narrative of he needed somebody and they, you know, no, it's a shared need. Because if I don't go there,
they don't win.
What are you talking about? You get what I'm saying? Now, that's not coming, if you ask anybody in the Heat organization, at least me, they'll tell you how much they appreciate it, still appreciate it. You get what I'm saying? But the narrative from the media perspective was something totally different. So when you just get into that GOAT conversation, and I always say this, comparisons are the thief of joy. But Michael's a GOAT, no question about it. But LJ's a GOAT as well. He came in, $100 million contract. Think people like that? There hasn't been one since, and it won't be one. Right? It's a good segue for you, Joe. It won't be one. You feel what I'm saying? Because shoe deals ain't what they used to be. But I'm just saying, when you talk about all the teammates around him that got paid, all the coaches that got paid, all the Lance Blanks, Chris Grant, Danny Ferry, you know, Wes Wilcox was there. He's a GM. You know, when you just really break down the impact, right? How could you say that this man is not a GOAT? I think 07 taking Eric Snow and Ilgauskas and Sasha Pavlovich to the finals was a turning point.
That team was trash.
I think scoring, I'm not going to say all that. I'm not saying that.
They wasn't trash, but they wasn't champion.
No, I'm just saying,
going to the championship.
At 22 years of age, he took the team to the finals, right? As the underdog, always been the underdog. Every finals he ever played outside of 2012 and maybe 2011 was the underdog, right? For the most part. So that was a turning point. 29 straight against Detroit was the turning point.
My bad. Yeah, I forgot that game.
That was a turning point.
So you heard what Rich Paul had to say over the years, right? On various shows making arguments. My question is, where were these ESPN roundtables out there that you had people like Stephen A. Smith and Brian Windhorst and Jay Williams and all of these guys upset about, man, Rich Paul out here trying to tear down Michael Jordan's leg. You couldn't find these people. Do you know why? Because it served their agenda, which was what? To push this GOAT debate that is made up of a bunch of smoke and mirrors. A bunch of smoke and mirrors. A bunch of narratives, a bunch of nonsense. So David Falk is in the wrong for expressing his view, which he was asked. But Rich Paul gets a pass when he has gone out of his way to go on shows to make an argument for LeBron James all through. I'm confused. Why is it okay for Rich Paul, but it's not okay for David Falk? I'm curious. I need to know. LeBron fans, y'all be liking to throw out the race card. Let me ask y'all, since y'all the experts on the race card and y'all like to question who's black and who's white and who's blue and who's green. LeBron fan, would that be like some type of, how do we handle that? How do we handle that? The fact of the matter is, you guys are just a bunch of bozos. Period. End of story. Period. They cannot let it be that people with prominent voices and big platforms go out there and say things that goes against their narratives and therefore becomes an issue. But here we have audio of shows that we've done over the years of Rich Paul going out there talking about some damn antlers and microwaves and TV stations and boom boxes. Nobody knew what Rich Paul was talking about. And Gil's Arena, they sat there like he was saying something profound. Nobody sat back and said, bro, what the hell did you just say about antlers and antennas and all of that? What did he just say? Nobody said nothing. You would have thought they had Mahatma Gandhi in the studio. Mahatma Gandhi. But in the minute a Jordan guy expresses his view, oh man, they just hate LeBron. They hate him. Why do they hate him? And I'm sitting there looking at y'all in a glass menagerie, because I told you I'm a scientist that be studying y'all asses, looking at honey porn all over the damn table. I'm like, but you dudes have been hating on Jordan for years. But don't nobody say none. Don't nobody say none. You be having them, man, when Michael Jordan come back, Michael Jordan gonna elevate the game. He gonna tell you what's beautiful about the game because Michael Jordan is classy. And I'm like, so if that's what Jordan is doing and you guys have not been doing that, wouldn't that make y'all classless? No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't, because we drink honey. It wouldn't. Having an argument, a serious argument with a LeBron fan is an absolute waste of time. You are better off putting 3 bricks together on a table, sitting down and trying to talk to them about world politics. You would get further talking to a bucket of shrimp, quite literally, than you would speaking to a group of LeBron fans. These people process information with honey in their back pockets. They twerk all day long. They shake, they holler, they scream. They turn Laker Nation into Twerkation Nation. This is what they do. So they're going to be up there pissed off, man, how can this guy say something like this? This is beneath him. This is an attack against Michael Jordan's LeBron's legacy. But yet we have Rich Paul, who's been running around talking about antennas and TV stations and antlers and speakers and microwaves, and nobody know what he's talking about. But that's okay. And if I call it out, oh, I'm a hater. Oh, I hate black people. Just imagine the caliber of sports fans we're dealing with. Watch out. They're sticky. They'll touch you.